Maya cups her mug as she stares out the CAF window, her eyes closed and a content smile on her face as the mid-morning sun warms her skin. The low hum of chatter rises and falls in waves and mixes with the zen music streaming from hidden speakers. She brings her mug up to her face and takes a deep inhale of her cinnamon coffee. The sweet and woodsy spice complements the light roasted brew and added milk. The door of the shop slams open, earning a few surprised exclamations. Quick steps approach Maya's table, the chair across from her scrapes away from it. Maya sighs and opens her eyes. Her best friend stands before her, sporting a triumphant grin. Instead of her usual distressed jeans and flannel, she's wearing khaki pants, a beige cardigan over a navy blue button-down shirt. Her blonde hair is pulled into a bun and light makeup adorns her face. "Hey, girl. What's up?" Danny plops into the chair. Her leg bobs up and down underneath the table. Maya quirks an eyebrow and takes a sip of her drink. "Hey. Where are you going dressed up like that?" Danny's grin widens. "Not going to, coming from." She pulls out her hair tie and bobby pins, shaking out her curls. "We've got plans for tonight." Maya narrows her eyes. Every time she says that exact phrase, trouble isn't too far behind. "What do you mean?" "We're having a horror movie marathon tonight." Danny rolls her eyes. "Girl, we do that every year. This Halloween is gonna be unforgettable." She pulls a piece of paper from her pocket. "I had to sweet talk Mr. Sanderson into letting us spend the night in the cemetery." Maya gapes at her. The only people who go to graveyards are couples looking to hook up and wannabe scene kids. She grips her mug tighter, trying to stop her shaking hands. "We're not doing that. That's a horror movie waiting to happen." Danny puts her hands over Maya's, giving her puppy dog eyes. "Come on, Maya. We'll have fun and we'll be perfectly safe." Maya purses her lips. "I've heard that one before. You're not the one who fell into Negan's enclosure." Memories of the tiger stalking towards her flash through her mind. His golden gaze piercing through her, and his rancid breath on her face. A blush creeps into Danny's face. Well, this time is different. She pulls out another piece of paper and slides it across the table. "I'll make sure of it." Maya glances at it while drinking her lukewarm coffee. "I've heard that one before too." "All right, I'm in." As the sun sets below the horizon, the sky is a canvas of pink, orange, and purple blending into each other. The crisp autumn breeze rustles through the red maple trees, freeing the dead leaves and carrying them away. Maya takes a deep breath, filling her lungs with the clean air. She crosses her arms as she leans against the wrought iron fence separating New Eden's dead from the living. Either through poor design or respect for the dead, New Eden Cemetery overlooks the entire downtown area. Maya glances at her phone. 6 p.m. She sighs and begins to shoot Danny a text, when the crunch of wheels stops her. Mr. Sanderson creeps up the hill in his rusty, blue Chevy with Danny chilling in the passenger seat. They park under the tree and Danny hops out first, humming with barely contained excitement. She's back in her regular clothes, and a large duffel bag is gripped in her hands. Mr. Sanderson hobbles after her, holding a ring of keys. Before he unlocks the gate, he turns his gray eyes on them. "Now, ladies. I'll let y'all in here, but promise me, you'll let them folks sleep." His gruff voice echoes in the quiet. Maya nods, while Danny grins, patting the older man on the back. "Don't worry, Mr. S. We have everything under control." Mr. Sanderson eyes them both, his lips set in a grim line. He unlocks the gate, pulling it open. "Keep that note handy, and I'll be back for you at 6 a.m. Maya's eyes widen. 6 a.m. She glares at Danny's back as she grabs her backpack and follows her in. The resounding clang of the gate closing feels permanent, like they've signed their death warrants. Maya turns back and watches as Mr. Sanderson returns to his truck and drives away. Well, that's that. Danny lets a large whoop as she runs and jumps around the tombstones. So much for letting them folks sleep. Maya follows at a slower pace, scanning the graveyard. Other than Danny's carrying on, it's unnaturally quiet. No birds chirp. No squirrels or chipmunks skitter about. Even the wind seems to be holding itself back. Dread tightens like a fist in her gut as she picks up Danny's discarded duffel bag and walks along the path. Tombstones, large and small, stretch across the manicured hills as far as the eye can see. Mausoleums dot larger plots of land like islands across a sea of green. At the heart of the cemetery is a hand-carved, dome-like structure with stairs leading into it. Columns line the outer edge with vines wrapping around each. Danny stands in the center, her arms stretched wide open and her eyes closed. Maya stares at her for a beat. I'm assuming we're sleeping here. She climbs up the stairs as a jolt of electricity shoots up her spine. Maya yelps and drops the duffel bag. She grabs onto Danny, shaking her. Danny, did you feel that? Danny pats her hand, not opening her eyes. There are spirits here, Maya. Maya takes a step back. The voice is Danny's, but it isn't. It seems older. Maya slings her backpack off and opens it. She pulls out a water bottle and stands. Sorry about this, Danny. Maya squeezes the water in her face. It does the trick. What the heck, Maya? Danny swipes at her face. What did you do that for? You were trippin', dude. You said there were spirits here. Maya reseals her bottle and drops it back into her bag. No, I didn't. Danny sits on the ground and pulls her bag towards her. Yeah, you did. Maya sits down across from her, her arms wrapped around her legs. No. I didn't. Danny frowns, a chip hallway to her mouth. Maya glares at her. Whatever, let's just get through this night and go home. I poured my beer on him and hit him with the bottle. Danny cackles as she concludes her story about her latest Tinder date. She takes a drag of her cigarette and blows out the smoke. The bastard didn't see it coming. Maya shakes her head. I remember that night. I told you to behave yourself. Danny tosses her head, tapping the cigarette. I was behaving myself. Chad didn't get the memo. I gotta admit, that dude was an asshat. Maya yawns as she checks her phone. 3 a.m.? I think we should turn in. Mr. Sanderson'll be here in 3 hours. She pulls on her hoodie and shoves her curls into the hood. Danny nods and snuffs out her cigarette. She slips on her chucks and gets to her feet. Sounds like a plan. I'll be back. Where are you going? I have to pee. Danny hops down the stairs and shoots her with finger guns. I'll be back in a minute. She heads further into the cemetery, disappearing behind a mausoleum. Maya crawls into her sleeping bag, feeling alone in the unnatural quiet. She closes her eyes, sinking further into the bag. After a few moments, she sits up. Danny? No response. Another jolt of electricity passes through her, more intense than the one from earlier. A gasp escapes her lips. Maya slips out of her bag and pulls on her own shoes. She stands, grabbing her phone and keys. Danny. Still no response. As soon as Maya walks down the stairs, the atmosphere shifts. The air feels charged, like touching a live wire and being unable to let it go. The moon shines down in its pearlescent glory. Storm clouds creep across the sky, threatening to block out the light. Maya runs in the direction Danny went. Her heart thuds loud in her ears as adrenaline flows through her veins. Maya? Danny's voice comes from behind her. No, not Danny. Something else. Maya freezes in her place. Come here, Maya. Maya turns around. Danny is standing behind her, but she's not alone. Pale, spectral figures line the rolling hills, facing her. Danny stares unblinking, an old woman in rags with waist-length hair grips her shoulder. She speaks, but Danny's voice is the only Maya hears. Come here, Maya. We've been waiting for you.